Hey, this is Jeremy with Evocatus, and in the famous words of Fire Marshal Bill, let me show you something. So everybody knows this, the shotgun shell hack on your hammer to retain the spring. If you don't, surprise. But you know that's common knowledge. However, I wanted to show you guys something else that may prevent you from injury. So this style of trigger group, this hammer specifically, at the base at the bottom here doesn't have a stop. So there's a little piece of material sometimes that's on these triggers, trigger packages, if you will. And so what happens is, you know, without the hammer being able to rest on the back of the bolt stem, so when we're disassembled and you are attempting to install or remove the hammer, when it's under spring tension, the hammer, I'll go ahead and put this in here. The hammer, without that stop in the way, preventing it from moving forward, that hammer will, instead of stopping like so, it will rest on the back of the static ejector that's attached to the rail. And that, you know, might not seem like a problem until you're trying to hook or unhook your spring, that, you know, when you're trying to get it off the end of the hammer. And so I wanted to kind of show you something that you know, I've kind of figured out here, if you will allow. So we're going to go ahead and install the trigger here, and come on, baby. There we go. Easy day. And so then comes my patented Galil axis pin retaining plate that I came up with. You know, I hate shepherd's hooks, and this is so much easier. As you see, install, snaps into place, and good to go. Then we take our safety selector, our safety lever, and this should be clearanced, by the way. If it is not, you have a problem. But that's another story for another time. So then we go ahead and install our safety. Okay, so now everything's together. So now we have this is where we can run into trouble. Now we remove our safety device of the shotgun shell, and we have these springs, and this single wire spring, this is provided by the customer. So this is where, you know, when we're taking these off and we're putting tension on, once we apply tension to the hammer, this hammer now wants to rest on the ejector. So what I'm going to do is, I've just got a chunk of material, in this case just a piece of barrel, that I'm gonna set here. And now when I unhook these, and I'm using my my scribe here, that is one of my very favorite tools ever. But there we go. Come on, Betty. There we go. Okay, so at this point, now we can, if this is the condition that we end up in without that stop being there. The hammer is resting forward, and the only thing that's really stopping it from going further is our ejector, because of that spring tension. Okay, so installing it isn't so much the problem as when we're trying to remove it. Okay, so then if you're setting here, and I'll show you the situation. If you're sitting here and you're trying to hook these up on your hammer, you're having to push your hammer off the ejector to try to gain access to it. Meanwhile, the ejector is trying to slip this thing back off, okay? And that's where you get snake bit. And I actually had that occur to me last week. It has been not fun, but I'll go ahead and, you know what? I'll go ahead and show you the picture of it. But basically what had happened was the right side spring came off into my thumb, and it buried itself up to the second bend. Next, it ended up puncturing next to my thumbnail, and the tip of the spring was in my thumb tip, and I couldn't get it out for a minute. It was not comfortable. So I'm trying to prevent this from occurring to someone else. So pull the hammer back. Put a block of something in there that's going to block the hammer, and now we can take our spring. Here, let's go ahead and finish this up the rest of the way. Okay, now that's out of the way, this will make this, that's how it's typically done. So now we can hook and hook. Whoops. Hook those up. And now it's not so much of an issue. Now we can safely put our shotgun shell in there. Oh, see, it already came off. And I'm just going to get this out of, I'm going to get my fingers out of the way. This is, I'm not, anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and undo this again. You know, F it, we'll do it live. Do this again. But the point is, my fingers are out of the way. And at the time, and this is a pretty strong spring, I'll be honest. But at the time, my fingers were in the way. And so I've come up with a way of, a workaround on that. And probably I need a fresher shotgun shell if you... Okay, so there we go. Now we can safely install our shotgun shell and do whatever we need to do. But that's what I wanted to show you. Get yourself a piece of material if you have a similar situation and prevent yourself from, you know, being forced to wear gloves because you've got holes in your fingers. Thanks, guys.